Today is April 24th, 2016. 3 years ago, on this day, the world called for change in the fashion industry due to a tragedy. In honor of that fateful day, Urbanite Runway profiled 3 members of the Tucson community about the efforts they are making to move toward a more sustainable fashion industry. Like we discovered with this video, we therefore challenge you to discover for yourself who and in what ways are the people in your city contributing. Thorat Amzer is a local fashion designer who creates clothing for the sophisticated woman by using natural textiles and a sustainable sourcing and manufacturing process.
Your skin is your largest organ, and we feel it's really important to maintain the health of that organ as well as dress it up beautifully. When we are creating garments, we think about where our waste stream is going to go. So we keep all of our scraps, and some of our scraps from cutting for production are big enough that we send off to a maker who can make little bags and clutches and purses, and then they send them back to us and we sell those along with our clothing. And some of the scraps are just too small to use for anything, but we still don't want to add to the landfill, so we bring them to schools to use for art projects and organizations like the Girl Scouts. We use digital printing process for our prints. Digital printing is really, I think it's going to be the way of the future. It's going to absolutely supersede old screen printing techniques because it's very, very sustainable. So it's a great technology. A lot of people don't get that fashion can be sustainable. Within the fashion industry itself, there are a lot of people fighting the idea of being sustainable because they don't want to change their practices. People are interested in quality, and quality by its very nature can be a very sustainable thing. If you're doing something in a quality way, you know that you're making it to last a really long time. It's not going to be thrown away, and that's really important.
Fed by Threads is the only 100% organic and sustainable clothing store in all of Tucson, and I would argue in all of Arizona. And it's certainly the only American-made sustainable store that feeds Americans in need in the entire country. Many people don't have places where they can say, where can I get clothing where I can see how it was made, I know who it was made by, and I can see the ingredients of what it was made from, and knowing that they're changing their supply of where they're getting their clothing and what their clothing represents. Without places like Fed by Threads, where people can walk in and know that every garment was made in the United States, and every garment uses sustainable organic materials, so the entire store, it's not one rack in the back. It's not an excuse of a rack. It's the entire DNA of what we do, from start to finish, every time you walk in here. My challenge to the fashion market, both here in Arizona and here in Tucson, but nationwide and around the world, is to say, what are the clothes made of? Unfortunately, it takes a really awful event like Rana Plaza to become the symbol of what's broken in a system. People are realizing, wow, the choices that I make for that $8 shirt at H&M or Zara, what impact are those having? I'm not trying to change those companies. I'm trying to cut off the flow of customers walking in their door. And that is where the root of the problem is. It's we, the consumer. And as soon as the consumer shifts those dollars into a different supply chain, magic happens. Fed by Threads is part of how Tucsonans can think very differently about what they put on their bodies and in their bodies. But we also want to be a voice for this broader moment of change that's happening in the world. And we're proud that this was born here in Tucson, it's been nurtured here in Tucson, and it will grow out of Tucson as well.
The contribution of local designers is in the regard that they create a community, they create more awareness, and they create the community with regard to their own product, but also with regard to the issue, and in this case sustainability. Very often, particularly in Tucson, I think, it is that sense that the local community needs support and that it's important to buy from local vendors, from the small vendors. That may be somewhat different in other cities, but I perceive that to be a really strong motivation for consumers in Tucson. When consumers make decisions, they affect their own life. And while we may sometimes buy from the mass retailers that have a global supply chain and global impact, we still in our own decisions as consumers can also make the choice for the local provider. People buying new clothes all the time, and it's every day we make that decision, what are we going to wear? Is it still something we like, or are we already thinking about getting something new? That happens just every day. I think there's tremendous opportunity to create a more sustainable life cycle for all sorts of garments, but it involves a lot of behavior change and attitude change. And if you think about fashion, it's quite complex. The environmental impact, for instance, that the fashion industry has, it's pretty dominant in its negative effects on the environment. It may be second only to the oil industry. This industry, which is perceived as rather dirty, has a lot of chances to become more sustainable.